you a movie lover? Do you read books? Do you watch drama? Do you go for plays? What are they all based on? Some particular story, right? How do we write those stories? So if you want to become a story writer, what are the rules you need to follow? Let's go for story writing to know it in detail. So what are we going to learn today? What is story writing? What are the key elements to it? The guidelines. What are the guidelines you need to take care of while writing a story? The marking scheme, because you're writing it for an exam. You need to know the marking scheme. Sample story to let you know how exactly it should be done. And practice questions for you to become perfect. Yes? So are we all set? Let's go for it. So what is a story writing? A story writing is a work of fiction or imagination. Fiction, that's imagination. That is usually written in easy, understandable, grammatical structure with natural flow of speech. So it is a fiction, it is an imagination. So when you are coming up with a story, see, what happens, sometimes stories are, they're based on facts. You actually see that incident or event happened and you write a story based on that. At times, you just imagine the characters, you imagine the story, the events, what happened, the ending. Everything is nothing but pure imagination. You try to think out of the box. See, when you are good at, thinking like this and then trying to pen down the same, there's nothing like it. That's the perfect combo to become a good story writer. So yes, you have to either base it on something which you have come across or probably watched or probably read, or else try getting something original out of the box. Yes? So yeah, it is imagination. It is usually written in easy, understandable, grammatical structure. So you generally tend to understand. Of course, you have rich vocabulary, so that's always wanted, with natural flow of speech. Story writing is meant to be read at a single sitting, and therefore it should be as direct and brief as possible. Now here we are not talking of a novel. We are not talking of a story book. We are doing story writing, which once you start reading gets over in one sitting only. It's not that you read 4-5 lines and you took a break and then you read another. It is a very brief thing. It's not much in detail. That's what I'm telling you. It is not a story book or a novel. It is just story writing, which is supposed to be read in one sitting. Just once when you start reading, you complete it there and there. Why? Because it is direct and it is brief. It's to the point. It's not too much of it. So what are the key elements that you should take care of while writing a story? So which are the 5 key elements? Character, fewer is better. So, you are going to frame such a small story. In that, you cannot have so many characters. So, the fewer, the better. Setting, brief but poetic and vivid. Whatever it is, it should be really short. It should be very, very clear, very, very precise. Plot, as simple and interesting as possible. Now, what are you basing it on? What is the plot of your story? You have to make sure that it is really simple, but at the same time, it is equally interesting. Conflict, intense, but one. Just one conflict, because it's a very small paragraph that you're going to write. So just one thing that happened in that, whatever conflict, but just one of it, that's it. And the theme, relating to majority of readers. So now supposing you're writing for youngsters, probably the teenagers, you will probably make it, mysterious, adventurous, thrill. I mean, there's a lot of thrill in that story, all those types of things. So it all depends on, what theme are you basing it on. Yeah. So these are the key elements, right? Now let's check the guidelines. So yes, fewer characters, like we already mentioned, the characters should be very few, because see, the more number of characters you involve in the story, you have to describe everyone's role, then what happened. That becomes a very long story, which we don't need. So very few characters. Develop the characters for the theme. Now whatever characters as per the theme, what are you basing it on, right? Now it all depends on that. Single and short time frame. Now the time frame, maybe you're talking about just one particular thing that happened. So it has to be a single thing, you know, and a very short time. Don't go in for months and years and, you know, long thing. Vivid surroundings, very clear whatever is, you know, what are you writing the story and what all it requires. So very clear and very precise about the surroundings. Catchy first line, always the case in any creative. Always the case. Your first line has to be catchy. See, I'll tell you as a teacher, when we correct papers, so when we start reading these paragraphs, you know, when we read the first line, we understand from there only that how well the child must have written. It's very clear. It's very clear because, you know, when you are very creative, you tend to start and, you know, we understand, you know, which child has really smartly done the job. We understand by, I mean, you know, reading the very first line. So please make sure your first line is very catchy. Choose suitable point of view. Whatever point of view you are actually talking about in the story, make sure it is suitable. One conflict only, we discussed that earlier. Just one climax scene like of the story. Intense but real conflict, something really genuine as per the theme of your story, depending on you're talking about the robbery in the bank. So, you know, you will talk only of it. That's it. And theme and focus. You have to keep your theme and focus. So, if it is about a robbery in a bank, you have to stay connected there itself. Please focus on that. Going further with the guidelines, as the story writing involves creative writing skills, follow the below mentioned points to write a good story. The narrative should be in first, second or third person. The narrative should be I, or it will be you, or it will be he or she. First, second or the third person. Setting of the story should be made. You should set like what exactly are you trying to talk about. So where are you going to set it? How is it going to be? Time, location, context and atmosphere should be described to create imagery. Now you have to know exactly when, where, all about it, what, how, all of it. Meaningful dialogues can be used. Dialogues should have expressions. Now, it's a very short story, remember? So, if you are framing dialogues, there is conversation between the characters. So, yes, they need to be meaningful and they should have expressions. They express something out. Characterization, identify 2 or 3 main characters and a few side characters in the story. Plot of the story should be interesting but short, because the word limit should not be exceeded. So whatever word limit you have been asked, kindly make sure that you don't exceed it, because see, I'll tell you how to go about. So in a line, for example, now we all know our writing, right? So in one line, maybe you are putting around 6 to 7 words. Okay. So if you are going like, for example, 10 lines. So it's around 70 words. So if it's 6, it is 60. So anywhere around 60 to 70 words. You don't have to sit and count one word. Okay. So just a calculation that approx if it is 6 or 7 in one line. So you have done in 10 lines around 60 to 70 words. So depending on that, you are going to frame it. I mean, as per that, you're not going to exceed it. Yeah. It can include the following, just like we discussed: what happens, the storyline, action, flashback, climax, conflict, and resolving a conflict. So you have to go in this sequence. You know, you have to have the storyline, that what exactly, what all about, from where it starts, what happens in between and the end. You should know the storyline. Then what is the action taking place in that? Sort of a flow chart, what happens next? Flashback, if anything is going back in the past, you're talking about the past, this had happened and then this. You talk of the climax. Suddenly there is a twist. A climax is a twist in the story. Conflict, something that does not work out, and how do you resolve that? This is how you actually frame the story. Again, remember, when you are doing all this, it is pure imagination. So how you actually imagine the whole thing, it works on that, based on that. Then you have to create conflict and tension, little bit suspense, little bit thriller, something has to be there. Opposition between characters and their internal or external conditions, conflict between the characters, balance between opposing forces of the conflict. Now this depends on the type of story you're doing. So yes, if there are two people, who are disagreeing, so how do you balance them? Mystery, empowerment, surprise, empathy, crisis or climax, turning point of the story, resolution or solution to the conflict. Till here, whatever you are seeing, okay, now it's not necessary that everything will come in your story. So yeah, depending on the theme, depending on what you are focusing at, according to that you will involve these, base it on any of these elements. Then it is an open type, it's the reader's view, resolved, clear cut outcome. When you resolve that problem, what is the clear cut outcome of it? Parallel to the beginning, same as the starting of the story. You have to make sure that whatever you are starting, you give it a proper ending. Monologue or dialogue of the characters. Now here we are talking of, if you are talking of one person or whatever dialogue, if there is a dialogue between two people, so how are you going to frame it? And of course, the closing image. So this is definitely required. See, when you read stories, when you watch movies, what all do you come across? Okay, let's forget all this. Let's forget everything that I said right now. Now just let's, talk of a movie. What all do you look for when you go and sit down there for 3 hours? You are glued to that chair. You are watching a movie. You are seeing everything is there. Now, if you just see only a movie which is based on songs, won't you get bored? Right? They have everything. They have climax, they have a villain, they have a hero, they have a heroine, they have the side roles, they have, people where the beginning is very rosy, in between some conflict comes up and then that is resolved by the hero. The whole thing. And while everything is very goody-goody, or when there is a lot of tragedy, conflict, we come up with all this, surprise elements. Then you even come up with mystery, you come up with empowerment, you come up with, surprise, all of these. So let's just think about a movie, simple thing. Just base it on a movie. Base it on a movie in the sense, the way it is done. Yeah. So that is how you will write yours. Of course, yours is way shorter, but then yeah, you have to, I'm just telling you how to go about it. So keeping that in mind. Now, the title and the moral is 1 mark. Always remember, whenever you have a question, okay, you will always give the title to the story, and at the end, you will also write the moral of the story. What is the message the story is communicating? What is the message by the story? So this is something, maybe even if it is not mentioned, you are supposed to do it. Yeah. So always give a suitable title, right? And then, now don't get stuck on the title. Children get confused here. What you are supposed to do is you frame your story, right? Of course, the theme is in your mind, but then you can give it a suitable title. Yeah. Do that, write the moral of the story, and you're sorted. But make sure this 1 mark, don't let it go. It's very important because it's easy. What are you trying to convey in the story? That's the message. That's the moral. Content, whatever the content is, 4 marks for the content. Expression. Now, expression is the coherence, the relevance of ideas. Whatever you are writing, whatever you are connecting, are they actually in flow? Are they in sync with each other? Do they really talk about the same thing? Plus, accuracy, appropriate words and correct spellings. You have to be very accurate. Don't keep beating around the bush. Like I told you, this has to be short, brief, interesting. Yeah. You have to have the appropriate words and make sure that your spellings are correct. So all these put together are for 5 marks. So you are given a total of 10 marks for story writing. Based on that, you have to do your work. Now, let's go about a sample story. Now, see, a story, either the clues are given to you, the outline of a story is given to you and you have to write the story based on the outline, or you have the beginning of a story and then you have to continue. So, for example, if I just tell you, one day at 12 midnight, someone knocked, or I heard a knock, and then dot 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 dot. Complete it. Now that is the thing I have set for you. Okay. This is what I want you to start with. Now based on that you will go ahead. So likewise here we have the same thing. You have to write a short story in 200 to 250 words. We will not exceed the word limit. With the help of the cues given below, give a suitable title and the moral. It's not mentioned. I have intentionally not mentioned, but you have to do it. Satish was standing on the balcony watching the last rays of the sun. Loud and angry voices in the street below distracted his attention. Now you see where it is being, where is the location, what time is it, everything is being clear. He ran down the stairs to see what had happened. Now what does he see? And so this is given to us. Now let's see. Before reading the title of the story, I would first want to read this so that we can see whether it's really matching. Satish was standing on the balcony watching the last rays of the sun. Loud and angry voices in the street below distracted his attention. Please mind every word. I mean, just pay full attention to every word that is being used, how appropriate, vocabulary, the grammar, everything you have to keep track of. So while I'm reading the story, please listen attentively. So below distracted his attention. He ran down the stairs to see what had happened. Now this is a part of our question. His neighbors were again fighting over some parking issues. It was a common scene among the residents of that area. No sooner did he reach there when suddenly, now just look how out of the box, here it has been thought of. Just imagine the scene, while it is being read, just visualize it. It was a common scene among the residents of that area. No sooner did he reach there when suddenly the land between the neighbors' buildings started tearing apart. Everyone got frightened. Satish ran back to his house to find his daughter and wife. They were both ready with their emergency baggage. The family got out of the house and started running as fast as they could, passing the falling trees and buildings. Water was penetrating out of the departing land, and everyone was panicking and running in any direction to save their lives when suddenly Satish's daughter fell down. A tree fell over her feet. Satish was trying to help his crying daughter when they both saw a building falling over them. Satish hugged his daughter and shouted at the peak of his voice, which finally woke him up. Dreadful nightmare. With sighs of heavy breathing and excessive sweating, Satish went to his daughter's room only to find that everything was fine. He kissed her forehead, went back to his room and wondered, oof, this one really took the life out of me. Now, let's, just see how the opening is. Check the plot, check the flow, check the words, check the grammar, everything. There is a lot of suspense out here, what happened exactly, and when the whole climax is there, the twist in the story, what was the conflict, as in they had that issue, then suddenly something else happens. So you see how the story, now just in these 200 and 250 words, this whole scene was very clearly presented before us. Likewise, when you start framing your stories, this is how you have to go about. So are we clear? You have to see how it is opening, how it gave a nice ending. It was a closing thing. It came to an end that, oh, finally, it was something which really scared me out of my life. That's how we've come to the end of the story, right? So likewise, as you will read many short stories, you will know exactly how to go about framing and, really thinking out of the box and writing good stories. One more coming your way. Write a short story in 200 and 250 words with the help of the cues given below. Give a suitable title to the story. Going to Mumbai by train to attend the marriage of a friend. Got stuck in a traffic jam. Reached the railway station late. Boarded a wrong train. Realized after 2 hours. Now you complete the story. Yeah, frame the story based on this. So let's see. The unfortunate day, we will, look at the title later once we have read the story. I sat down with relief. See the beginning. One day, once upon a time. No. Please don't do that. See, using of first person narrator, the first person narration, you're using the narration the first person. You see how it is beginning. Remember, this is what you have to keep track of. That please get out of that once upon a time, long time ago. No, we are out of it. We are totally out of it. Please don't start your stories with that. You will sound like, I don't know, an age-old story writer, some ancient one. Things have changed now. So please, we have to go with the flow. I sat down with relief as I ticked off the last task in the checklist. I wanted everything to be perfect as it was my best friend's marriage in Mumbai. The alarm rang next morning. I woke up in excitement and booked a cab to the railway station. Please see here, he is not saying that I slept at night, I kept an alarm. Directly, the alarm rang next morning. I woke up in excitement and I booked a cab to the railway station. Everything was going perfectly well until I got stuck in a traffic jam. I reached the railway station late, but on the side of the train still waiting on the platform, I hurried and somehow managed to get into the train. I breathed a sigh of relief, thank God, and got comfortable. It was only when the ticket collector came, I realized that I had been in the wrong train for 2 hours. 2 hours he was in the wrong train. He was going in a different direction. This train was not going to Mumbai. I panicked and deboarded the train at the next station. I panicked as in whichever station came after he realized, he got down. He got off the train. He deboarded the train. I tried booking a ticket for the next train to Mumbai, but there was no availability. On coming back from the ticket counter, I realized that my luggage was missing. So now the train is gone. There's no availability. He's in the wrong direction. Even his luggage is missing. Even after hours of finding and reporting it, there was no trace of it. I got tired and I lost hope. I tried booking a cab with the minimal amount I was left with in my pocket. Now, whatever money he had left with in his pocket, he tried booking a cab with that. The cab couldn't reach on time as it was raining heavily. So you see that incident is just those few hours, the very same day. So when we are talking about the times, he is not expanding it from today to tomorrow to day after. It is the time span is only that much from where he started and within those few hours where he landed. That is why, if you give it a very precise definition, just that much. Yeah. So where were we? The cab couldn't reach on time as it was raining heavily. Disheartened, I finally walked my way to the nearest hotel, contacted my parents and recited them the series of the unfortunate events that happened during the day. Alas, I couldn't even make it to my best friend's wedding. The unfortunate day. Yeah. So you see, again, the time, how they have described it, within how much time, the location. You see the beginning, you check the ending, it's given a proper closure. You look at the words that have been used so appropriately. Yes, this is how you, here you are involving the, I mean, you know, a lot of miseries which he's going through, I mean, immediately one after the other. So you see the imagination, how it has gone. So please, always when you frame a story, try thinking out of the box. Let your imagination go wild. So when you read such books, see this, the message I would like to convey to you is read more books. Read more stories. Even if you are doing it online, please read. Read as many short stories. You will understand how to actually go about. Please do that, because even otherwise, see, these things are very interesting when you have to share a story with somebody. At times you never know, you just have to need it. So just let's be well equipped. What's the harm? Yeah, it's always an asset to be, you know, really good about all this. So now a task for you, as always. I've always, you know, given you, not left you rather without a task. So this is something that you have to go about. Yes. Enjoying a cup of tea while sitting on my balcony on a Sunday morning, suddenly I felt a deep pain in my chest. I thought that this was the last moment of my life. I wanted to call my daughter, my husband, and everybody to say the final goodbye, but couldn't do so. So you see, you've got the theme now, how to go about. Imagine what happened after this. Did the family know what happened, or did the woman die unnoticed? Explain what were the plans and aspirations of the woman at the last moment of her life. Write an imaginary story with a suitable title in 150 to 200 words. So yeah, you have been given this entire thing. You know, you have to plot it out. The beginning has been given to you. Set it out and go ahead and let your imagination go wild and come out with something really, really nice. I really hope you do a good job. I'm sure you will after this. Again, another one, a short story now at anywhere around 200 to 250 words. It was Moini's first day at the new school. She was feeling very nervous. She stood in a corner and watched the students who were laughing and talking excitedly. When she saw 4 senior students advancing towards her, so now you have the scene right in front of you. Now it's in a school, it's a new school for the girl. She's nervous, she's watching everyone. Suddenly she sees those people coming towards her. What next? Come on, think, and think something really interesting. Please pen it down. Make sure you use your guidelines, you use the key elements and frame the best stories to score the highest marks. That's how my students go about. So yes, storytelling is the most powerful way to put ideas into the world. I told you. So even if you think that, you know, writing stories will not really, what a big deal, we'll just get marks just like this, you will put anything anywhere. I'm sorry. When you watch a movie, you really expect good results, right? You want to have good reviews about it, only then do you go for a movie. Likewise is this storytelling. Make sure the stories are really, really nice and worth reading. Yes? So keep writing good stories, keep weaving them, keep framing them, and make the best of the guidelines that have been provided to you. For more such tips, keep watching and keep learning.